Hey, Minnesota Viking fans, welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I am Kyle Smith. I'm joined by Adam Carlton.
Hey.
And Kyle West. What's up, dude?
Hey, guys. Big day for Vikings football. Big week for Vikings football. Lots of signings, free agents coming into purple. Some familiar faces coming back, some other talent coming in. I like it. I like what we're doing.
And don't forget, we got the pro days going on. Some of those prospects there are definitely increasing their stock while others are struggling.
Who was that quarterback that we were talking about in the chat?
Donovan McNabb. Oh,
definitely Donovan McNabb.
It's depression. When you think about his Viking days.
My boy Paris Ford had a terrible pro day. So who knows? Maybe he'll go undrafted now.
That's not good. Or maybe we'll get him on the cheap in the 5th round. Hey, there you go. But yeah, I would expect that to be a super priority at this point. We do need depth at safety, but this week's episode is 431 secondary shuffle because the secondary is going to be jumbled around because there's 3 major transactions to do with the Vikings secondary that we haven't covered since the last podcast. So I'll take the major one. Future Hall of Famer and multiple-time Pro Bowler, all-pro corner Patrick Peterson, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, has signed with the Vikings. We'll go in depth about this later, but I was excited to find out from Adam and Kyle that his agent reached out to Minnesota, so he actually wants to be here. That's a good sign.
Round of applause for free agents who just want to come here. We like that. I'm a fan of that. Yes.
Ooh, yeah, Tyler is up with us. What's up, man? I think they will cut Hughes. It's looking that way, especially with the other signing at corner that we got. Let you guys take over that. But that was
I would say we're gonna at least carry him through some training camp, get some physicals done, see where he's at, before they outright cut him.
Well, we can all agree that Hughes won't be getting his 5th-year option. That's not going to happen. The situation's going to be, having Mike Hughes on the roster would be cool if he's healthy. There's a better chance he won't be.
Mm-hmm.
So what I expect Minnesota to do, since his salary is guaranteed and cutting him would actually cost more than keeping him, I expect them to release him and then stagger out his cap hit. Because that way they can pay him, which is the Vikings have always kind of done that with players during injuries. They'll figure out a way to keep them on the payroll, even if they're not on the roster and able to play. And that's something I always admired about the Vikings. Mm-hmm. Not every team does that. And it's nice to see Minnesota do that. But I think they're going to take care of their player there with Mike Hughes and give him his money. But I do think they're going to have to cut him for the roster spot.
We talked about it, in depth over the time period since he was out with his injury. And it's a neck injury, as we've had highlighted before. It's nothing to mess around with. With the addition here, Viking Jerome brought it up in the chat if you're watching on YouTube, so we'll address that now. Mackenzie Alexander is back, which all 3 of us were thrilled when that news came back.
Absolutely.
He's a great fit here. He'll probably be in the slot, be the nickel corner. He's just a tremendous corner, and he knows the system well. And he came back on the cheap, which says a lot, even though he hasn't actually spoken on it. That to me says a lot, because we kind of thought he left on bad terms.
Yeah, when he left, he and Mike Zimmer were having a disagreement about the talent at cornerback and being able to run a kindergarten defense. So, yeah, I mean, Mike Zimmer is definitely not the kind of guy who likes to run a simplified defense. And using the term kindergarten, yeah, it would probably make a player mad if they were out there doing their best and somebody referred to it as a kindergarten defense. So I'm kind of glad in some ways that Mackenzie Alexander took some offense to that. But the fact that he was able to swallow that and come back to Minnesota on a league minimum deal just absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, grass isn't always greener on the other side. Turns out that
not in that division.
Yeah, it turns out Mackenzie Alexander is a pretty good fit for Mike Zimmer's defense, I think. And so he can come in on this 1 year it's a prove it deal, like you said, Adam. It's a veteran minimum contract. No real high risk for Minnesota, but we're able to bring back a veteran piece who knows this defense that we can plug and play immediately. And considering how just banged up and atrocious they were last year, that's an important signing. Even though it's not an expensive one, it's an important one.
Of course, the negative people in Vikings media came to talk about how he had a down year for the Bengals last year. And let's just call last year what it was from Mackenzie Alexander. That year was probably one of the worst years of his life. With what happened with his father and everything, it's just a complete situation where nothing was normal.
Yeah, we don't have to go too far in the details. You guys can Google that story if you really want to find out. But Adam makes a really good point. COVID affected so many people last year, and on top of dealing with that, the salary cap went down this offseason because of that. Personal life stuff that'll hit you and you don't even know it. We're all happy that Mackenzie Alexander's back. The cap is going to go up after this coming up season, guys, and there's going to be a lot of people departing from a lot of teams. But
look at the new TV deal that just got signed. That's a load of money right there. Getting butts back in people's seats, at the stadiums. That's a big one. And of course, there's that move for the 17th regular season game that's going to add quite a bit of revenue. So I don't know how they're going to work. I don't know if they're going to institute another bye or what the plan is there. But yeah, this should be a year where that salary cap just takes a nice bounce back for 2022. And that's why we're seeing so many of these small 1 year deals coming out this year. So now is a great time for Minnesota to be loading up on talent, evaluate what they have, and then maybe give extensions to players who were great fits or worked out really well in the system.
John, we'll get to your comments soon, man. I wanted to leave it up for a little while. He said, excited about the O-line additions. Oh, wait, just kidding. Really think they're making a lot of good moves. We think the Vikings have made a lot of good moves, kind of under the radar, minus the Patrick Peterson signing. I still like the O-line to finally not be looked over. Mason Cole ain't it. I mean, you're probably right most of the way percentage of this, but he is an upgrade over Drew Samia. Like I'm an upgrade over Drew Samia.
I'm more excited about Mason Cole than most people are.
I was going to say, Adam, talk to us about why Mason Cole is a better deal than I think what people are giving credit for.
Nathan Cole played what he could at center when he came in, but he's a much more comfortable player at guard. And he's a much more comfortable player when he doesn't have to make adjustments on the fly for a mobile quarterback. Now that he's in Minnesota, let's be honest here. Kirk Cousins isn't known for moving his feet. Kirk Cousins wants to stand in that pocket, deliver a clean ball. That's exactly what he wants to do. And in the 2 starts, he only started 2 games at guard in Arizona. He had very good showings, only allowed 2 pressures in both those games, one against San Francisco and the other against Tampa Bay, both which are known for having very good pass rushes. And he held his own quite well. So I know the Pro Football Focus grades don't look good. I know that his overall play has been kind of slandered because of his starts at center. Of course, he also played some offensive tackle in college, but I don't see him moving out there for any reason whatsoever. So I anticipate that Cole will be one of the starting guards on the opening day in week 1. I don't know which spot. I'd feel more comfortable with him at right guard because I'm not 100% sure that he's the pass blocker that Minnesota needs. I'd like to see a more well-rounded pass blocker on the left side. But if he has to start there, I'd feel better about it than the situation Minnesota had last year, for sure.
So I think a lot of the focus is put on his Pro Football Focus grade at the center position. We can throw that out the window because he's not playing center for Minnesota.
Yes.
So that I don't really care for. We gave up, was it a 6th round pick?
Absolutely.
To acquire him. Pretend for a minute that you are drafting a rookie in the 6th round who has the potential to be a starting guard for your team. That would be a value pick.
Right.
Okay,
100%.
that's a 100% a value pick. So you're giving up a sixth rounder in the draft is maybe practice squad is usually what you're shooting for at that point. And we've snagged a guy that the Vikings front office believes could potentially be starting or at least competing for a starting guard position for the Vikings. I think that is a really good gamble. I would throw the dice on that one.
It raises the floor of that offensive line, which the floor was really low before, like very, very low. At least now there's something. It doesn't mean Minnesota won't be using a pick on a guard in the draft. I expect a guard in the first 3 rounds. Absolutely.
Totally. I don't think that anyone is saying to put the little captain badge on him and get the Ring of Honor seat ready. But like, hey, like you said, it's a very good way of putting it. Like we've got.
Although I do believe he was a captain in Arizona.
Was he? Well, there you go. Maybe we can't get the captain ready for him. But like you said, it's like we're raising the floor for what our offensive line play is here in Minnesota.
And he can anchor much better than Dozier or Samia. So that's what the key is here. He's an improvement over any of the players at guard that are currently on the roster. And I know that there are a lot of fans pounding the table for trading for a left tackle or drafting a left tackle early. And that would mean keeping Ezra Cleveland at guard. And if that happens, it's an interesting development. But it's only a thing that I think we're going to see if one of the elite left tackle prospects fall. And right now, I only have one elite left tackle prospect in this draft. That doesn't mean that my evaluation is going to be any different from the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings could see 3 of these guys as elite players at that position potentially. So, yeah, that first round is going to be very, very interesting.
All these trades going on got everyone's mock drafts messed up. Everyone's got to reset now.
The nice thing is that so many of those trades are signaling for a quarterback to be taken there. And that means those other players keep getting pushed down. And if Parsons is there, oh my goodness, that's what I want. That's what I want right now.
I think this is a record for the show for how long I've shut up ever on the show and not talked. And it's just been perfect. I got to jump in a couple of these because I always have something stupid to say. So John thinks that he's not Samir Dozer, so that makes everyone happy, but he's Band-Aid. John Young says he wants a better Band-Aid. Hey, man, we all want a better Band-Aid. But to Kyle West's point, and I'm going to give him the credit because I listen to other podcasts about the NFL and the Vikings, and I'm not going to steal their material and be a piece of crap and use it on this show like I came up with it myself, all right? Luke Braun, Locked On NFL, he does a daily one. I listen to it every morning before I go to work, right? What I had heard from Luke on his podcast talking about Mason Cole is at the center position, he's very jittery. He's very wiry, almost sporadic at times. But think about it. With the stance that you have to be in to be a center versus the stance you be in any other part of the line, snapping the ball too, he doesn't have to worry about that. Now he can move around and get set better. All right, and he doesn't have to face a friggin' nose or all the time. I guess is what I'm trying to get at here. I agree with you, John. I don't think he's the end-all, be-all, best solution out there. But the Vikings made the attempt, and they're not done making the attempt. They're going, like Adam said, they're going to get an interior offensive lineman within the first couple of rounds, at the fourth at the latest. But I think Adam's right. In the first 3 rounds, they're going to have to look at it. And this brings up some other stuff in the chat, all right? Where are we going to go out into the draft? Viking Jerome, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I asked the guys in the chat the other day about this, and Eric Wilson's still out there, so I'd love to have him back if he'll come back on a team-friendly deal. But add linebacker to that, add some depth at safety, and that's about it. The Vikings there were about 4 or 5 other positions added onto that when the new year started, before free agency began, and this is about it on the screen. So
I do want to add one other thing about Cole real quick before we move on completely. He's 24 years old?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, we haven't even seen what this kid can do. Give him a chance to prove himself.
Out to that Kyle found, or Adam found on Twitter the other day that says, I'm not really Mason Cole, I just look like him. and he made a whole spoof about it. That was the best thing I've seen in a long time.
But as far as defensive end goes, whether it's Pay or Russo or whoever Minnesota really wants at that position, one of them is bound to be there. So if defensive end is where they want to go, they could definitely go that direction. One of the three premier wide receivers in this draft it's likely to be there. So yeah, that's going to be an option on the table.
Mason Cole turns 25 tomorrow, by the way. Good call, Adam.
Ooh.
There you go. I think the Vikings are doing a good job of positioning themselves in this draft to do the thing that sounds so obvious, but a lot of times teams don't do. But
Draft
that is really to
replace
take
Kirk Cousins.
100%. No, to take the best available player on the board. I really think they're falling. They're doing that, and that's such a cliched, shitty thing to say.
No, it's not. It's perfect. And you know what? To piggyback on that, to do what Rick Spielman loves to do, trade back, get us a second-round pick. I'm all for it because these teams are paying out the ass for these quarterbacks that history shows are probably 50% of them are not going to make it. And I love it. Good for them. I think it's the funniest thing in the world that San Francisco couldn't get a deal worked out with the Jets because the drop off from Zach Wilson to Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I think it's kind of significant. And you're by Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy that I'm not going to say he got you to a Super Bowl. The defense got him to a Super Bowl. Let's be real. But I just think it's funny how it works and all these picks. And now Miami has like 400 picks in the next 3 years. And then Kyle brings out a good
Miami.
Point. Yes,
at some point, Miami, you have to actually draft someone.
not named Tua Tagovailoa because he's not the answer. Yeah. I cannot believe they're going to stick with him because he ain't it. He's not. But hey, you know what? That's good, and that goes back to Adam's point. This is going to be. There's going to be a plethora of like mouth-watering options at 14 if they stay there. And that's what you want. You don't want to be pigeonholed to, man, one of these wide receivers has to fall. Or in Adam's case, he really likes Micah Parsons, right? A universal linebacker could do a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
I would love him to be there. I like Kwity Paye a lot. We don't have to have those guys. I like not Rashawn Slater. What's the other guy's name? The tackle. Elijah Vera Tucker. Is that who it is? The second.
Oh, yeah.
He'll probably be there. Let's go. I like any of those options. The Vikings have moves they can make. They can sit comfortably, and this isn't the way they've shaped themselves with all these signings. Now everybody can take a deep breath and say, okay, we're in way better shape than we were last year, and we were all right last year. It was just a little lack of depth, a little bit of inexperience, but they've shored up a lot of these holes here, and I'm very excited about it.
Who is the receiver you and I were talking about, Adam? The one that played with Justin Jefferson in college?
Jamar Chase.
Bring him in.
I think Jamar Chase is going to be the first wide receiver off the board.
He's not going to be there at 14, but that would be awesome. But you know who could be there? No lie, at 14? The freaking Heisman Trophy winner could be right there.
It's true.
He could be right there. Jalen Waddle could be there. And that would be stupid. That would be.
And I think Waddle's going to go second for wide receivers. So, yeah, I mean, this is such a weird draft because the skill positions have people going absolutely wild right now to get some of these players.
I don't want to trade down. I want to stay put and draft right where Minnesota is. With that said, it depends how the board looks. If Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer believe they can trade back 2 or 3 spots, get some more picks, and 1 or 2 players that they're looking at are still going to be on the board, I think they'll do that. But I think that if they trade back, it's only going to be just a couple spaces back. I don't see them trading clear out of the first round to acquire picks. I think they're going to stay pretty tight to where they are.
This draft is really loaded at some positions and really not loaded at others. The safeties in this draft are not something that I would write home about. Meanwhile, the guards, there are some really good guards that can be found pretty late in this draft. And I would actually like to see Minnesota stay put at 14 and take the best player available there and look to get a guard, then a burner wide receiver 3 that could probably do some punt returns. That would be nice. Because because I still don't know who the punt returner is going to be. I don't feel great about that. I don't know who the kicker is going to be, so I'm not sure about that.
Destroying from YouTube. We're going to bring
Destroying.
in YouTube kicker.
I love this kid so much. Love him.
All you kids love your YouTubers. What are we bring
Andrew, are you guys leaning
holder?
towards not trading down? Me personally, I hope they stay put. I'm with Kyle, but they are in a good position to trade back. I'm all about finding value. I don't ever want them to do the Christian Ponder thing where it's you take a guy this high up that you absolutely didn't need to take. There are quality players, like Adam was saying, in certain position groups. Others not so much. But as long as they get the value and they don't reach for a player, cool. Now, you're not going to have Justin Jefferson fall to you every year. We know that. But they're going to be in a good spot because a lot of these quarterbacks that get taken in the first 6 picks, they're going to shuffle around, and they're close enough within those 5 through 14 picks. At least 1 or 2 really good blue chip players are going to be available.
I'm pretty sure last year that the Vikings targets were nearly all swooped up by the time they were close on the clock. And Justin Jefferson was like the last guy that they had written in as someone they would take at the position they were at. And when his name wasn't called by Philly, you could tell how just elated they were.
Hey, fuck you for 38-7, but thanks for Justin Jefferson, guys. We appreciate that.
I can't imagine how that must feel as a general manager or a scout to be in that position where you're like, hey, here's the 10 to 12 guys that we covet in the first round, and almost all of them are gone by the time it gets to your pick, and you're just
those
like...
guys are gone too, the guys that made that decision, so that says a lot.
Yeah.
You don't know how Howie Roseman or Ryan Pace still have their jobs in the NFL. Their general managers are awful, just awful. I don't get it, especially the guy from Pace from the Chicago. Hey, I know we wanted Russell Wilson, but here's Andy Dalton. Okay,
yeah, a little different.
Good luck. If I'm Miami, just throwing out some stuff here. Let's talk about that too. We'll talk about the
and the Lions got Goff ready to chomp at knees, I guess.
Ugh. Detroit doing Detroit things. If I'm Miami, I'm going in there with like 15 picks and offering up to Seattle and making sure that we walk away with Russell Wilson. You have the ammo to do it. That's crazy.
You know what? As Vikings fans, historically, we should know why that's a bad idea. Even if it's for a player as good as Russell Wilson, you don't Herschel Walker this thing and trade all that draft capital.
I will say it's a little different for a quarterback than a running back. I know it's a different era, but a quarterback you kind of got to go for.
Yeah.
Because if I sit here and I say, Mr. Smith, would you give up the next 4 years of Vikings first-round picks for Patrick Mahomes?
I'd give 5. I'd get 5 first-round picks in a row for Patrick Mahomes.
See, that's the thing, is that some quarterbacks, you just got to go for it. And when you got a proven commodity that is just an absolute superstar, you sometimes just got to go for it.
Mm-hmm. Mike Kaplan asked about running back behind Cook. Well, we still have Madison.
Yep.
Amir Abdullah was re-signed. But would I be surprised if they pick up a free agent or get one in the draft? No, not at all. They'll get another running back some way, somehow.
They'll draft another running back. And, of course, it wasn't any sort of magical thing that George Payton was the one that went and grabbed the Minnesota running back that they were unable to keep. He knows what they've got in Minnesota. He knows.
Damn it, Cliff, you had to go and say it. Now we're not going to make the playoffs. Don't come to this podcast with optimism, damn it.
Now, if we're talking about depth at positions, let's talk about quarterback, because there's no Sean Mannion. There's no Jake Browning.
Go get Kyle Sloter again. He's the savior that everybody wants.
The only one we got now, right? At backup?
Who?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the Vikings quarterback depth chart.
I think Jake Browning's the backup right now.
Yeah?
Like more than Sean.
I do like him more than Sean Mannion, because at least I don't know what he brings to the table.
Whatever happened to... What the hell was McLeod Bethel Thompson? Whatever happened to him?
I don't know.
We've had so
we
many.
still have, apparently, we
so
still have
many.
Nate Stanley.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know what I'd love to see if they could get another couple like thirds in there. I don't know how many third rounds we have. Take a flyer on Sam Ehlinger, dude. Why not? I did that in every mock draft that I could do on the simulator on PFF, and they all gave me an A+ for that. So
I'm
I
gonna be
don't
that
know.
guy. Can he play guard?
It sounds like that when the Packers drafted Jordan Love last year. That dude on McAfee show just he lost his mind. He's like, can he gain 100 pounds to play defensive tackle? So funny. Viking Jerome, we were just talking about that before you got on and commented. Probably not. We're leaning more towards the no on that. And not because we don't like him
this season.
Yeah. That's a serious injury. I'll recap. Adam was talking about it. The Vikings will probably pay him, but showing that you go out and get Patrick Peterson and then you get Mackenzie Alexander back, plus you drafted 2 rookies last year and you still have depth. I don't know where his role would be. And you drafted him in the first round, so you would hope that he would start at some point, which that's probably not going to be it. Yeah, probably not. And they're not going to pick up the 5th-year option more than likely. We can almost bet on that. So,
right.
Don't know. Maybe he'll get a chance to recoup. Maybe he recovers and goes somewhere else, but I don't think he's going to be with this team. Oh, let's talk about the Herschel Walker trade on this show. Unbalancing the league like that anywhere. Yeah. Miami successfully has that power right now. They almost have all the Infinity Stones there if they can just hit them up right. You know what I mean?
One day I actually went off in the podcast chat. I didn't get much of a reply from these guys. But I started talking about why Minnesota made that Herschel Walker trade and how Dallas kind of screwed Minnesota over with some of the conditions that went with a lot of those picks. And it was just ridiculous. That's why I like having Rick Spielman in that front office, because he doesn't fall for that baloney. As a matter of fact, Rick Spielman has been absolutely killing it on trades. The only one you can kind of point at and be like, oh, that one's kind of brutal, was the one that didn't work out, and then he ended up going from a 2nd to a 3rd based on Ngakwe, but who could really predict that?
Right. I mean, it's always exciting when your team just shoves a bunch of shit and you get a star player that comes in. Like when we traded for Jared Allen and we brought him onto this team, like that was a lot of fun, and Jared Allen was a huge asset to this team. So if you can nail a trade like that, it's always awesome as a fan to see that happen. But I think that the risk oftentimes outweighs the reward when you're trying to bring in an established player and you're really hinging the future of your team on this one talent coming in and being that final piece of the puzzle.
That's why I really like some of these smaller deals that Minnesota's making right now. They're not big investments, which is great because Minnesota doesn't have a lot of cap, but they are players that have the potential to play really well. Xavier Woods is probably one of the better signings that I've seen lately. I know Cowboy fans don't like him because he didn't play very well in the secondary recently. And let's be honest, that Cowboys secondary within the last 2-3 years has been absolute garbage.
Ugh.
Let's be honest, our secondary was so bad, someone who wasn't very good on another team is going to be a stud for us this year.
But now, can you imagine going from a team where everybody around you doesn't play up to the right level, and now you're playing with Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith and a young rookie that's shown a lot of potential, and you've got team leaders like Eric Kendricks, and you got a pass rusher like Hunter out there creating pressure to give you opportunities. I think he has a good chance to thrive this year at safety.
We haven't made enough New Day references yet, Adam. I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, not every show needs wrestling stuff. Because if I start talking about wrestling, then I'm going to start talking about how much the WrestleMania card coming up looks absolutely terrible, and
looks like an in-your-house pay-per-view from
Come on.
about 95.
Bad Bunny is wrestling.
Yeah.
I understand that he was the most listened to artist worldwide on Spotify last year. That's cool and everything, but come on.
Vikings Jerome in the chat says, what about Sean Mannion? What about Sean Mannion? That is the ultimate question.
I hope he goes somewhere and throws his first career touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't hate the guy, but I don't want him in Minnesota.
They do got to address that backup quarterback position. It will be interesting to see what they do.
And as far as Andrew's question here, Andrew Sendejo coming back, I think that bringing a veteran back in a role where he's going to be paid a very small amount, it's not a bad investment as long as he's willing to take on the smaller role.
Yeah.
And he should be able to come back for a relatively cheap price tag. So if you can add a little bit of that depth, because let's be honest, what is it? Josh Metellus is the next safety backup, and I'm not too sold on him. There were already fans talking about moving him to safety, and then, there comes Xavier Woods.
It's almost like the management of the team knows what they're doing, and they're just picking their shots. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works. No, these are good additions. We're excited about it. I think the Patrick Peterson signing is very good. I don't think that he's going to be the Patrick Peterson of 2015, but with the way this defense is set up, I do think that he can be by himself most of the time in man or shadow that single guy that he's going to have to – you're going to have your best guy on. With Hunter coming back and assuming that they get a defensive end in the draft or they put all their stock in DJ Wanham on the other side, Hunter coming back is the main piece of this defense that's going to reshape everything. I'll be curious.
Understand people talking about Patrick Peterson like he's 35 to 39. He's 30 years old.
He's still going to be good.
Thank you, Adam.
Not much.
He's still going to be very, very good.
Right, and this is Mike Zimmer's defense, who took Terrence Newman and had him play until he was old enough to collect Social Security out there. I mean, he's going to be able to play to the strength of Patrick Peterson.
We're not going to see Patrick Peterson returning kicks, though. We're not going to see that Patrick Peterson.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
And they have Abdullah there to take a knee, which I am more than happy with.
Team touchback.
Absolutely.
So when I make that reference, guys, that he's not the same of 2015, that's one of them. You're not going to get the return specialist. He had a down year last year, but barring 1 year, maybe he has a resurgence. He says he feels healthy. And I'm with you guys. I know that Zimmer's going to help him rendle the fire and go back to form. But I on the other side of that, I don't think that he's going to be asked to be the Patrick Peterson of 2015, 2014. I think this defense as a whole is going to help him balance out and go back to what we remember him as, because last year wasn't it. The year before that was all right. But I'm excited about it, not only for on the field, but I still am in shock that he called Minnesota, because he could have went to any team that he wanted to.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring real leadership and show the young guys that had some promise last year. Let's be honest. Our young corners stumbled a lot last year, but they had some moments where they shined. I'm really excited to see what he teaches Cameron Dantzler. I love that kid. I think he has a lot of potential. I'm excited.
We're talking about the coaching staff and stuff with Minnesota and these free agents. Minnesota had reached out to Xavier Woods earlier in free agency, according to, I think it was Chris Thomason. Minnesota had reached out to him and wanted to give him a league minimum contract, and Woods apparently declined that, and wanted a little bit more money. And I don't blame him; he's a good player.
Sure. So
then Minnesota shuffled money around and found a way to get a little bit more of that money over to Xavier Woods. They reapproached him with another offer, and that's the one they finally accepted. So when you look at this pickup by the Vikings, you got to look and say, okay, this is a player that Minnesota really wanted to pick up if they wanted to invest that kind of time and money in.
If I remember, Rhodes had a pretty rough first year too. Yeah, he was very handsy. Very.
I still remember watching those videos of him with the boxing gloves on at practice. That was amazing. You're gonna stop holding.
I love it.
Here's the thing about Patrick Peterson. You made a good point up there, Kyle Smith, earlier. He brings a veteran presence to this team, specifically in that corner, the corner. What do you call it? Locker room, position group, whatever you want to call it. Where we need that veteran leadership on this team. I think that was sorely lacking last season. So that alone makes it a good signing for this team.
I apologize for my video and the little snake-like tail that keeps popping up. That's just Bernie.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining.
We're not sorry for it. We encourage it.
Yes.
No, but yeah, you're right. And you know what's great too? Thinking about the secondary as a whole unit. Now you're going to have a Vikings team that has Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson in the same secondary, and I love that. And I don't care that Xavier Woods isn't like a big household name. It's a veteran. Come in and do your job. Go into year 2 with Cameron Dancer, who I assume is going to be down there. And if Cameron Dancer is not going to be starting opposite of Patrick Peterson, then you got Mackenzie Alexander. And now it's like, oh, this defense actually looks pretty good. They're not going to be, top of the league, but this definitely puts them back to the middle, I believe, in my opinion. And what Mike Zimmer can do with the middle there is bring him into the top 10. And if the Vikings have a top 10 defense, all is well in the world. It's back to the way it should be.
The list is longer now of players who are going to step in before Mike Zimmer has to go down to the 7-Eleven and pick up some players.
Totally.
Touche.
And you know what, too? We're going to have good pressure from the front four, which is going to help Patrick Peterson and the rest of the secondary. If you believe that maybe he has lost a step a little bit, he's going to be able to not have to hold up as long in coverage because we're going to have pressure coming in from the front. I like what they're doing.
As I've said before, Eric Kendricks is going to be freed up from last year because before this, he had to play down in that box because that middle was just getting absolutely destroyed in the run game. Now having those 2 big, beefy defensive tackles there should help to slow that down in a major way. And we can see that Eric Kendricks that we've seen in the past that patrolled the field more, made some plays on the football, broke up some passes. It's exciting.
There are a few fans who are mad right now because the Vikings have went so heavy with defense. And they're saying,
who said that?
Vikings Twitter in general is pretty worked up over that they're focusing all on defense. I'm fine with that because I think that, yes, we need help on the offensive line. And I feel like we've needed help on the offensive line for a while now. We do need more than a Band-Aid, like the chat said earlier. But we do have some studs on offense. We got Adam Thielen, who's still a solid contributor. Justin Jefferson, who should continue to make that leap into year 2. Dalvin Cook, okay, excellent running back. Kirk Cousins, he can make plays. We've got pieces and parts on offense. The defense was sorely, sorely lacking. So I'm perfectly fine with them throwing a lot of poker chips to get that defense fixed because I feel like we can continue to score points on offense. We just need a defense to hold up. We need a defense to not
was
leak.
very good. Very good last year. Sure, there are some subtractions. Riley Reif being gone could hurt more than people think. Kyle Rudolph has moved on. Otherwise, this is essentially a very similar unit that's going to be out there on offense. And if Minnesota can figure out a way to secure that left tackle position, no matter how they choose to do it, and if they can bring in one more capable guard, I don't think you'll have a real drop-off at all on offense.
No. How many yards did we give up to the Saints?
Too many. What was it?
Too many. How did
it was 6 something, wasn't it?
And that's a perfect segue for me to rant on people I don't even know because Kyle West had to bring it up. And just you have to say, if you're gonna bitch about something and you don't understand why when it's that obvious, shut up. Just shut up. The defense was awful last year. And it starts with the pass rush, which obviously Viking Twitter land, you don't know anything about. because it wasn't there. I've said it on the show. This is probably the 15th time since he left. The leading sacker last year on the team was Yannick Ngakoue, who played 6 games. Shut up. Nobody cares. Just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. The defense was terrible. And you know what? Mike Zimmer ate the bullet on that because he had to go and say before the season started.
I've never had a bad defense.
I never had a bad defense. Well, case in point, the Saints game. That was the season last year. I don't know what else to tell you.
Oh,
God,
Chris
that's
Thomason
so
had a field day with that statement.
We really need Danielle Hunter back on this team. He's such a big asset to this defense. Do we know if Danielle Hunter is following Vikings on Twitter?
He is. He returned all his pictures from in a Vikings jersey to Instagram. There was a conversation that was done apparently between Spielman and Hunter, according to it. I think that was Thomason as well, where Spielman said that he anticipates that Hunter will be there for camp. So right now they're saying all the right things, but then again, you got last year where you kept hearing, "Oh, it's just a tweak, and he'll be back soon," and that definitely wasn't the truth either. So it all depends on how much of this you believe.
It's a fluid situation, but right now I like that we're leaning towards Danielle Hunter coming back in because we need him out there on defense. We need him on that end for Minnesota. His pass rush is top notch.
For sure.
Even coming back after the injury, I still think he'd be able to go right back into Pro Bowl form for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Viking Jerome wants to know, do you think Wilson can sign back with us? It's 50-50.
Russell Wilson. He doesn't even play for Minnesota. That's a callback to last episode.
Yeah, thanks for that, Adam. Appreciate that. Eric Wilson could come back. I think if he's smart, he could probably sign somewhere else and make more money. But Anthony Barr is going to be back as well, so the band's going to come back together. I don't know what the price tag is going to be.
But why haven't the Vikings signed Larry Fitzgerald yet?
Because he's a veteran. He's like Brett Favre. You don't need to come in until the 3rd, 4th preseason game, right?
Probably.
All I can think about is how Adrian Peterson just skipped all that. Every season in Minnesota, he's like, no, I'll stay down in Texas and work out on my own. And the weird thing is that his workouts and everything down there, they seem to be working just fine because when he got back up to play football in Minnesota, he was ready to roll.
I mean, it worked for him, so what the hell?
I think I'm probably the only Viking fan out there that doesn't really care for Fitzgerald coming in. And I know it's a cool story, but I don't think he'll do anything. But it's heartwarming.
It would have been cool.
Another future Hall of Famer from Arizona to come on in.
It would have been cool like 7 years ago. I'm just being honest here.
That's kind of where I was headed with that.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed off, and I'm going to say it every episode until I get tired of saying it. I don't know why Jarius Wright or Aldrick Robinson aren't back on the team, Rick. Go figure it out. Obviously, BB and BC Johnson aren't the answer, so just throwing it out there. They can be 4 and 5. I need a 3. I need a solid 3rd.
I get BB for the special teams, and he can fill in at wide receiver when needed. I mean, you don't really want him to do it so much, but if you need him to, he can play some snaps.
Vikings draft a receiver or two. I don't know if BC Johnson has a roster spot.
And it's so weird because he went from starting those first couple weeks last year to just dropping completely off the map.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Some people shine when they get their opportunity.
Well, yeah, Justin Jefferson happened. Than that,
the Jets took off. That's what it was. They're like, can you play tight end? No? All right, go sit down. We don't need you. Thanks.
And then Minnesota saw what they had as far as a receiver in Smith, in Conklin, and even in Ham.
Even in who?
When CJ Ham hangs it up, I'm going to be very sad.
CJ Ham.
Oh, yeah.
He caught some balls out of the backfield and looked real good.
It's why I'm not super concerned about Mike Boone leaving, because CJ Ham, he can fill in that role as well, too.
Oh, here we go. What's up,
there.
Steve Wise? Do you think the Vikings are holding back on a splashy O lineman because they're not going to keep Cousins? Now they have a concrete salary number to trade him for. They are 1,000,000% keeping Cousins. They are in love with him. They love everything about him, and he provides continuity. Even if the ceiling is only make the playoffs, they love him. And to defend the Vikings on this, when everybody was poo-pooing on the contract when it started, now that the numbers are going up, doesn't look so bad. Doesn't look so bad.
I am no salary cap guru, so Adam, correct me if I am totally wrong here. But from what I've heard, there's probably more potential that the Vikings would extend Kirk Cousins to spread out his salary cap hit to relieve the team for the next foreseeable future couple seasons here. So if anything, you're going to be looking at a Kirk Cousins contract extension sooner rather than later.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head here. And I know that a lot of Vikings fans are just furious or frustrated that Kirk Cousins hasn't brought Minnesota deeper into the playoffs or hasn't put up Patrick Mahomes style stats on a regular basis. But I mean, he is the man in Minnesota. He is. And I don't see any of the current coaching staff. I don't see Rick Spielman. I don't see them making a change from Kirk Cousins anytime soon.
I mean, when he plays poorly, you can go back and listen to some of the old shows. Smith and I were ready to castrate Kirk Cousins live on air because he can be frustrating. So we get it. We get it. I just don't know who I don't know who we're moving on from him with. We got Jimmy G.
Well, here's the thing. I've said this before, and I have to go back to it. If you're going to get rid of him, you better fucking upgrade. And if you're not, don't do it. Because it's there for every time you find a Kirk Cousins out of 1 out of 10, you can go out and find a Mitch Trubisky and an Andy Dalton down the road. And I don't want those guys. Kirk's better than those guys. He's not better than a Dak Prescott or a Russell Wilson or obviously Mahomes or Brady, Rodgers. But
about the only guy
isn't as good as Gardner Minshew's, that's for sure.
Oh, his mullet is so amazing.
The only guy I'd take a flyer on that's out there, Marcus Mariota. Next year, maybe you could bring in Marcus Mariota if you really wanted to. Otherwise, you're switching out a Kirk Cousins for a Jimmy G. I don't know if you're really upgrading. You're just kind of shuffling pieces around. I don't know.
C-Wise, I love these questions you're asking. I'm going to make you mad for a second before I answer this one. Kirk Daniel Cousins was born on the 19th of August, 1988. I am older than Kirk Cousins, and that makes me hate myself. He has a net worth right now, and this is not with all the guaranteed money he signs. He has at least $50 million in his estate.
And $49 million of that came from his Pizza Ranch endorsement.
I had to throw that out there. All right. Do you think Coach Dennison, Rick Dennison, is the big reason why some of the big free offensive linemen are reaching out? I don't know. I would like to think that the Vikings have a pretty reputable coaching staff. This was a down year, obviously, but I can't answer that. I have no idea. I would love that. One of the things
seen a lot of
players
players reach out based on their coaching staff. One of the main reasons Patrick Peterson's company reached out is because of Mike Zimmer. And then we've got Stephen Weatherly, who came back because he loved the defensive line coaches. So, yeah, I think the coaches of the Minnesota Vikings are a good reason some of these players want to come to Minnesota. But I do agree that in some ways that Dennison may not have the pedigree that a lot of potential offensive linemen are looking for to grow and develop younger offensive linemen. So that might be something that kind of looms over their head a little bit when it comes to coming to Minnesota. But there will also be those players who come based on just the financial situation or the opportunity to start. So, yeah, I don't think Minnesota is going to get a draw by having Dennison on the staff, but I do think that the opportunities and the possible decent-sized payday will kind of end up outweighing that.
I think if you ask me, since Coach Sperano died, I think that's probably the biggest hit this team took coaching-wise. I do like that they have kind of an eclectic mix of old faithful with Mike Zimmer and Patrick Peterson. I love the running backs coach very, very much. I love the fact that they went and hired the wide receiver coach from Jacksonville. He kept the same job. And they stayed in-house and went with Clint Kubiak because he knows the system. So you have young, old, experience everywhere, success with other teams. I think the O-line group, in my opinion, and this is trash most likely, but I think that's the weakest part because it hasn't shown its position on the field. But we had guys playing out of place last year too, like Ezra Cleveland. That poor guy was not playing where he should be playing, and maybe he'll get the chance this year. But I don't know. I think a big reason that too is a lot of these offensive linemen got paid. Like I think we all here would have loved to have Joe Thuney sign, and he was getting paid stupid amounts of money by the Chiefs. We can't compete with that.
Early stages of the free agency just saw the best offensive linemen in this draft get ridiculous amounts of cash thrown at them. And Minnesota they could have matched some of those, but then they'd still have a lot of holes left on defense that they had used the money from that cap on signing recently. So it's a little bit of a mess that such a hole exists in the Vikings offensive line because right now there's just one glaring hole, and I don't think we exactly know where that is or what the Vikings plan is for it. I assume it's left guard. A lot of people assume it's left tackle. I don't know what it's actually going to end up being. So, I just where do you guys identify the problem on that offensive line? Do you think that the Vikings are going to plug it with a left tackle, with a left guard, with a right guard? How do you think this is going to work out?
I think
it's a toss-up for me. Oh, sorry.
I think in two certainties, I'll be quick. Garrett Bradbury is staying at center. Brian O'Neill's going to stay at right tackle.
You're sure of that?
I think so.
You don't see him moving to left?
He could, but I think he's shown that he's competent there. I also, with bringing in Mason Cole, I don't see how he doesn't play guard. So maybe 3. I don't know which guard position he's going to play, but I think you got to find a left tackle. I don't know if Ezra Cleveland goes there. Could be what you're saying. Maybe there's a possibility they swap and you have the tackle situation figured out. But I know they're going to address it. But they have some sort of solidity now, and I think the main positive to bring out of it is we don't have to worry about Drew Samia, Dakota Dozier jumping in unless there's an emergency. And you know what? Remember, they brought Rashad Hill back too, so you have a little bit of depth there. It's a good thing.
I think we're kicking Ezra Cleveland out to left tackle, and then for the draft, we're looking at either left or right guard. I think is where the Vikings would like to spend that pick to address the offensive line. I think that those guard positions are still probably the biggest area of need. I don't know, based on where they're picking, if you get a left tackle who is a first-round talent. If you could, I would not be opposed to that if someone was to fall or if there was a scenario where they could trade up to get one. But I don't know. That's what I think.
My arm fell asleep with a cat on it. That's why I'm acting kind of weird. So my apologies there.
See, Wise, I don't know what time you jumped in, man. We're definitely gonna talk about this again. We addressed this already. Encourage you, if you do go back, I'm gonna shamelessly promote here. Go back and listen from the start, like the YouTube video if you would. We talked about earlier for drafting, we wanted the best player available, and we had discussed how since it's shuffled now, we should probably go back because I wanted to address that earlier, but we didn't get to it. With the shuffles that happened yesterday or 2 days ago, the Vikings are in a good position to just sit and wait because something is going to fall in their lap that is going to be awesome. We don't know if it's going to be an Elijah Vera Tucker. We don't know. We hope that it's Micah Parsons, especially Adam. I'm hoping for a Kwity Paye, but they are going to have a prime spot to get at least one player because the quarterback is going to get taken and overdrafted a little bit, and that's going to push other players to fall. I don't know. Adam says there's a lot of good guards in this draft, and I don't know if you take one unless it's Quentin Nelson in the first round. You probably wait.
Third round, Brown, Kramer. There's a lot of players that are really good in this draft. And on the offensive line that can play guard. So, I mean, if they end up waiting and picking another player in the first round, I'm not going to panic one bit.
Sorry, I'm
What does
texting.
Bernie
I'll be
think?
doing this
Kitty
show.
cat.
So much of Cook's games up the middle. I'd like to see us focus on guard. Yeah, Andrew, to your point too, and just to keep beating the dead horse here, a lot of the shit that happened with Kirk last year that we saw was him getting just bulldozed and having a guard thrown into him to fall down, and it was awful. It was hard to watch. I'm not even the smartest guy on this. The trio of us, I'm at the bottom of this of football knowledge and how the game works. But I've learned to watch pressure not only from the defensive ends, but how the defensive tackles are moving people around. And that's how bad the center and the guard play was. So I'm with you. I would love to see them beef up at guard, but I mean this with all due respect because I like Rashad Hill. I don't want him starting. I want him to play the backup and swing role. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
Is that Talladega Nights with all due respect?
With all due respect, that's that opinion ain't worth the painting of a whale and a dolphin getting it on or something like that. I don't remember. That's such a good one. With all due respect to Mr. Rashad Hill, and I mean that because he could absolutely just punch me through a wall. I want him to be the swing tackle. You're right. I think they should focus on guard, and I think they will. They have enough capital to do it. You know what's crazy? Let's talk about what happened this week so we can round out the show a little bit. I was looking at the draft picks by numbers on some of my Instagram Viking pages that I follow, and Seattle has like 3 this year because they gave them all up for Jamal Adams, which is stupid. I don't understand that. But I'm sorry, you got me distracted with that reference. I'm thinking about Talladega Nights. But let's talk about what happened in the draft because the Niners got the notification about the Niners first. They gave up a couple first-round picks and move up to number 3. They're definitely going to take a quarterback. We can all agree, right? They don't move up that far to not take a quarterback.
They won't say it until they actually draft him, but yeah, they can't be comfortable with Jimmy G.
Justin Fields or Trey Lance is going to San Francisco. Good for them. That's a fantastic team.
Now, who's that? They have a 4th quarterback that's being mentioned as a possible
the Alabama
player.
guy, Mac Jones. Yeah, he's Kirk Cousins 2.0. He'll get overdrafted. I don't want to say anything negative about Kirk, but that guy just doesn't flash to me. You play for Nick Saban. When has an Alabama quarterback ever done shit in the NFL? That's just my opinion. But going back to what happened, San Francisco moved up. That means Miami went to 12, where San Francisco was picking. Miami was aggressive and hit up the Eagles at number 6, jumped back in at number 6, and now the Eagles are picking at 12. They acquired some capital. Rounding this out, because Kyle shared this, and he made a good point earlier in the show, but the Miami Dolphins have essentially turned Laramie Tunsil and something else into like 4 first-round picks, which is incredible. But Kyle nailed it in the show earlier to steal your thunder, man. They've got to draft somebody, and they will.
Yeah,
but they have a lot of capital. But the draft is already starting to shake up, which is fun because it's about a month away, and it's going to be very interesting.
I don't know.
It's surprising to see these pick moves getting made with picks getting traded, not really players attached to them. This kind of stuff you don't usually see until much, much closer to draft day. So you can tell these teams are really putting their thinking caps on early and trying to get ahead of everything to position themselves. And that's kind of weird because for a while there, you had mock drafts with a lot of teams taking successor quarterbacks. You had teams like the Atlanta Falcons taking a top quarterback in the draft because who knows how much longer Matt Ryan's going to be there. And now with some of these trades, it doesn't even look like they're going to have the opportunity to draft a quarterback. At least not one of the top 3.
I think Atlanta sits at the best part of the draft, not named Jacksonville, because they're going to get Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be amazing. But Atlanta's going to sit there and have their pick at anybody they want because they don't need a quarterback right now.
In my opinion, move up for that 4th quarterback?
I would if I was Carolina. If you really want Justin Fields and he's sitting there, go for it. But I'm not a GM. I think Atlanta's going to be sitting in a really good spot because Matt Ryan's only 35. And if you recall, they came in and beat the shit out of the Vikings last year. That was an ugly, embarrassing game. It wasn't the offense. The defense sucks there. They're worse than the Vikings defense last year. So I don't think Matt Ryan has, 10 years left in the league, but he's still got a good 3 or 4 left. I don't think they need to draft a quarterback, so they can take whoever they want, which is really good for them. But to answer your question again, thanks for all the questions, man. I don't know that I've ever seen you in the chat before. Correct me if I'm wrong, CYs, but we're glad that you're interacting, man. Where's Garoppolo going? I think he's staying in San Francisco. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. They're going to wait for him to fail or get injured. One of those is going to happen, just going off of history. And then they're going to throw the young guy in. But I don't know. I don't think Bill Belichick cares for all that. He's already spent a bunch of money in the offseason. He doesn't have to wait. He could probably pick up that Mac Jones kid at 15 and not even care. Just be like, hey, whatever.
Yeah, Bill's going to wait for someone to slip up, and he's going to pick up some quarterback that gets cut or trade him for absolutely nothing and bring him in.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, I don't know. Those legal troubles.
I'm banking on that. I'm just looking at the universe and how the Patriots work. That's what's going to happen.
Kind of have matching legal troubles, though. So maybe there's some relation going on where you can understand.
That's a very good point.
Maybe. You know what I don't get? Okay, so there's all this talk about trading. No, Miami's got all these draft picks. We're going for Russell Wilson. How come no one is inquiring about Aaron Rodgers? Seriously. I'm surprised we haven't heard any team be like, hey, you guys got your successor quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. What would it take to get him out of there? I'm kind of shocked that.
I'm sure those teams that have a solidified quarterback, I'm sure they get offers thrown at them all the time with ridiculous amounts of picks and players on them. And they shut them down pretty fast, and I think we just don't hear about them.
Be interesting.
Yeah, I'd love
to be a fly on the wall. Yeah.
Oh, God,
I'd love to be a fly on the wall just to know all the crazy shit that gets proposed.
Because if I remember right, Rick Spielman said that there were some offers thrown at him for Kirk Cousins, and he didn't take any of them really seriously. So,
had to be the 49ers, right?
C-Wise, I agree with you. I love Chris Sims' podcasts. Shanahan says Max and I. If they take Mac Jones at number 3, I'm going to laugh my way to sleep that night. That is such a reach. I don't know how you can take – I watched Justin Fields in the college football playoffs, and that dude is a monster. I don't know how you don't take him, but that's funny.
After the draft, though, a lot of experts were talking about Patrick Mahomes being a bit of a reach for Kansas City as well. And
yeah, that's true.
And don't forget about Tom Brady getting drafted later in the draft. That gets shoved down our mouths all the time.
You know what? I don't care who called it a reach there and how Deshaun Watson fell. I don't think in my lifetime I'll ever see something as dumb as taking Mitch Trubisky 2 overall. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, he's the Nickelodeon most valuable player. He's the only one in NFL history to have that award.
Bill now. He's a Buffalo Bill now, which is just weird.
But as I've said before, if you see that quarterback you want, and you need a quarterback to be your guy, you go get him. You get him.
Yeah.
And if you missed on it, you missed.
Mm-hmm. I was just watching, what's his name? Mike. What's his name that loves the Vikings? He does Pro Football Talk. Damn it, I can't think of his last name. Florio, yeah. He was talking with Chris Canty. He used to be in the NFL, and he was saying, talking about the bad history the Jets have with a franchise quarterback because they haven't had one pretty much since Joe Namath. And he said that exact point, Adam. If you swing and miss, you go back in 2 or 3 years and you try again. But when you nail it, you're the god forever in that town because it's kind of like with the Andrew Luck thing, right? Like, what if they would have gotten a line and this is this? You don't think about the general manager being at fault. He's like, no, I found you your quarterback. Now you got to fix everything around him. It's kind of true. I think that's why the Vikings cling so hard to Kirk Cousins, to answer you guys' question in the chat. You don't have to worry about off-the-field stuff ever. He's like the most boring Caucasian religious dude ever. He's pretty decent. I've seen him throw some pretty good footballs. And he does enough to keep it around. It's like, oh, okay. Like occasionally he'll show up and beat New Orleans in the playoffs, or he'll beat Green Bay in Green Bay. It's like, you haven't done enough to get fired. You can stay. Kellen Mond is curious. Check the Vikings down the board. Kellen Mond, is that the guy from Florida?
I honestly
no,
wouldn't mind
that's A&M. Sorry.
a mid-round quarterback. I am all on board with that.
You're talking about the Kellen Mond is a Texas A&M quarterback. Yes. I saw in a recent mock of the Vikings that they were going to take the quarterback from Florida, and I had not heard good things about him. So maybe make that like the 5th round or something later. Please don't waste one of the thirds on that guy. I think that's about it for the show, though. We're talking about draft and all that stuff. We eventually have to do our award show. We should probably do that like the week before the draft just to keep it interesting.
There's always news now, though. We waited too long into free agency, and now we got all these stuff to talk about. But before we take off, though, I do want to talk about one other thing, and that's how the state of Minnesota has been getting so many great players with their first-round picks. They've nailed it in hockey. They nailed it in the NBA. They nailed it in the NFL. This was a good year for Minnesota bringing in new players in the draft. So big thumbs up to the state for getting this young talent to come in and keep Minnesota sports exciting for a while.
All right, sorry guys, we're here texting, being unprofessional. We're gonna wrap the show up. Shout out to C-Wise, Andrew Latola is always in the chat. Viking Jerome, who was up here earlier? We had a heckin' random. I think we had a bot on Twitch, which is awesome. Cliff Tang ruined the show for me.
Twitch bot, which is nice.
I like it. Cliff Tang, you ruined this. You ruined this episode for me, Cliff. Just kidding, buddy. We love you. Mike was in here, John Young, and then shout out to Tyler who started the show off. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. I'll shamelessly plug the show. If you will please share our YouTube page to your social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want. Hit the like button, hit subscribe bell, and you'll get the notifications from us when we go live. I schedule the shows, so when it gets scheduled and you have the bell notifications on, you'll get an update. It also does it on our Facebook page. But thank you. We're starting to see a couple of people popping every week, getting thumbs up during the show. So it's working slowly but surely. Thanks to you guys.
And as Mr. Smith was saying, YouTube is not the only place you can see us. We also go live on Twitch. We are live on Facebook Live. And, of course, you can always see the live show here on YouTube, along with the full catalog of back episodes, if for some reason you want to go back and watch one of our older episodes.
You don't, but you should.
What we should do is we should go back and make a clip of some of our better conversations, like back when we used to apologize for Christian Ponder. That was fun.
Oh,
he's just,
to be fair,
a few things once it all comes together for Christian Ponder, he could be that guy.
Good God.
We were trying. We wanted to make it happen.
My favorite one, Adam, was you and I talking about how big of an asset Greg Jennings is to this team. Oh, we love Greg Jennings.
Published the episode.
He was cut the next day before the episode.
Within 24 hours. Oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah, we should definitely do a dead wrong segment.
It happens.
Show. Oh.
Yeah. The other things that I really liked from our older episodes was the stories of us telling how we became Vikings fans. I thought that was pretty cool. Even if I think both you and I and Mr. West read ours off a piece of paper because we didn't want to get it wrong.
Some week we don't have much going on. That'd be a fun off-season topic to rehash a little bit.
That's true. I'd like to hear a little bit more from our listeners as to how they became Vikings fans. I know a lot of it were probably their parents loved the Vikings or someone in their family, and that kind of just spread up and down. But some other people took interesting paths, like Mr. Smith. Your family isn't Vikings fans.
No, we are all a split household. My mother, God rest her soul, she was the only true person to stick with where we were from. My dad grew up before the Panthers were around. My brother liked a certain player. I liked a certain player. So we kind of followed them around, and we all have our reasons. But I stuck with the Vikings, number one, because I wasn't going to bandwagon hop. I could have took the easy road and been the enemy. but I wanted to see Brett Favre and Adrian Peterson get a ring, which never happened. At least for Minnesota, anyways. But yeah, it's we all have pretty cool stories. I'm glad to be here, though. I guess to sum that up, glad to be a Viking fan. Glad that I met all these guys that I do the show with, and I'm glad we have people on the show that think we would be cool enough to get an interview with Christian Ponder. That would be cool.
Probably not Ponder, but there has to be some former.
We could probably reach out to some former players, and I don't see why some of them wouldn't.
I'll send his wife a message on Instagram and ask. I'm gonna get told no, but I'll ask for you. See why? I'll ask Samantha Ponder if we can get Christian on the show. I'd much rather interview her.
I wonder how many people Sam Ponder blocked on Twitter over the years.
Ooh.
I know for a while there she was blocking anybody who was saying bad stuff about her husband. It's just absolutely big time.
Good for her.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to hear it.
Vikings Jerome. Alan Page is one of my favorite Minnesota Vikings of all time.
Absolutely.
Probably number 2 on my list of favorite Vikings players. He is an all-time great. And the fact that his time, all his accomplishments in professional football are like the least interesting thing that Alan Page has accomplished with his life. Boy, that really tells you something when you're in the Hall of Fame. And you're like, yeah, I did all this other stuff afterwards too.
Author, lawyer, politician.
What did he get
he was just all around like, hey, I'm better at everything in life than you are.
Yeah.
He's a social activist too, which is amazing.
Didn't he get
just a great human.
Didn't he get some presidential?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, I believe. Like the highest honor you can get. Yeah, he pretty much did everything better at life than any of us will ever do.
He's an amazing person. I know he's got schools named after him in Minnesota, schools, libraries, all of it.
Bob Lertzma is one of the most amazing men you will ever meet if you get a chance. If you're an adult, he'll walk up to you and he'll joke around, like people from the old days when they used to not worry so much about, being so offensive and everything. He'll come up to you and he'll treat you like a peer, which is amazing because it's just like two guys talking. But if you have a kid with you, his focus automatically focuses to the kid, and he will make that kid's day by doing some of the weirdest and wildest stuff. I was at training camp with my buddy Clint and his son Lucas, and we were at this pizza place where they were doing a signing, and Bob Lertzma looks over and he sees me. I'm wearing my Brock Lesnar jersey, and he's kind of laughing about that. And then he notices Lucas. He says, "I'll bet you $1 I can beat you at thumb wrestling." So him and Lucas have a thumb wrestling match, and he lets Lucas win and gives him $1. And I thought that was one of the coolest things.
That's one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. That's amazing.
Chuck Foreman. I see we got a Chuck Foreman comment here in the chat too. Chuck Foreman is really awesome. If you guys ever get an opportunity to meet him in an autograph signing or whatever, Chuck does a lot of those, and he's the same way where he will just stand there and he will bullshit with you, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be about football. The time I met Chuck, we just started talking to him, and we started talking about movies, and then he was saying how he wanted to go see the new Captain America movie because it was out in theaters at the time. And so I'm talking to Chuck Foreman about how he didn't understand how Chris Evans, in that film, he's all bulked up to play Captain America, and then they used CGI to make him look like skinny at the beginning of the movie, and he didn't understand how they did that. So I had a conversation with Chuck Foreman about how they used CGI on Chris Evans to film Captain America.
That's awesome.
That's really random and really awesome that that's what I talked to Chuck Foreman about.
That's dope, dude. Just the fact that you get to to have that interaction is really awesome.
That's what's cool. That's what's cool about a lot of the older players is that they'll talk to you. And
I'm gonna find John Randall. John Randall.
Was a guy that I was not excited about one bit to meet because I didn't know that much about him. But I was like, it's a former Vikings quarterback. I'll get his autograph. I'll meet him. See what it's all about. And by the time I got to him in line, he asked me, what's your favorite autograph in your collection? And I told him, I said, it's my Bruce Campbell autograph.
Oh.
He's like, oh, I loved him in Burn Notice. And we stood there. We were talking about Burn Notice and Bruce Campbell. And it was awesome. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, see, I love stories like that. My turn to
I think
plug
we're
my
supposed
stuff.
to
Hey,
plug our stuff, yeah.
check my stuff out. There's the link. Go do it.
Also, to our Survival League winner, I have been procrastinated long enough. Your shirt will be going out next week. Thank you for being patient. I have your information. I have your order. We'll get it to you. Adam Carlson is on the internet as well.
Oh, yeah. I'll have an article out about some free agents that the Vikings may want to avoid for the remainder of free agency. I'll have that out in the morning. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, there have been some articles I've written over on the Viking Age over the past little while that you might want to check out. And there's also a really great amount of writers over on the Viking Age that can have a wide variety of topics that you can either agree or disagree with. That's fine. But it's a nice place to go just to check out Vikings information. So I highly recommend that. Over on Undead Walking, I recently wrote an article about the future of Clementine from the Telltale games, which I am super excited about because I really enjoyed those games. And I'd love to see her story continue. Also, The Walking Dead Season 10-6 is getting close to wrapping up. I believe in 8 days that 10C is going to wrap up for The Walking Dead. And then the following week, Fear the Walking Dead is returning. So it's a lot of time for The Walking Dead to be doing zombie things. And if you're into that, that is absolutely amazing. And as far as my Twitch channel, I've actually got in an order on some of the stuff that I need to get it a little more professional, a little more ready to roll. And hopefully when I do get that, which is expected to be here, I believe on the 1st, that I'm going to try to get that all set up. And maybe I'll start hitting up some more Twitch shows, and I'll be on there playing some Jackbox, maybe some Fall Guys. And then from there, we'll see how that works out. But I want to get back into doing Twitch because I miss the interaction. And honestly, there's no reason why I really shouldn't be doing it.
Go support our people. We thank
also,
you.
I've been doing some appearances on the Lupicus One Bar show, as well as the Viking Age podcast and the Undead Walking podcast lately. So if you like hearing my voice on podcasts, there's several places you can check me out recently. So I do those things.
Go support our people. I have nothing cool to promote.
Why not?
I want you to get all the promotion stuff. This is my outlet. I play music sometimes. Sometimes I play Batman with celebrities. Who knows? You'll see me out there one way or the other. But mostly, thank you everybody for taking time to make the show better. You guys don't realize it, but you guys that comment, you guys drive the show and help us find stuff to talk about because we have predetermined things we have to cover, but these random things lead to one branch of the show that branches out again, and it's just the best.
I love the conversations. I can't imagine going back to a show where we don't have a live chat. Doing some of those other podcasts is a lot of fun, but they're all pre-recorded Zoom calls that get uploaded, and they're fun and they're interesting. There's absolutely nothing like having a live chat and being able to interact with people that are watching and enjoying. It's so much different and it's so much fun. And I appreciate all you being here. So once again, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.